What's up, guys? My name is Jerry, and today's video is going to be on the Detroit Pistons, and we're going to be talking about how this team is going to be much more versatile next season, and we're going to jump right into the video. Now, the Detroit Pistons are coming off a great draft night where they were able to acquire Jaden Ivey and Jalen Duren, and then they followed that up by completing a great trade to land them some much needed veteran depth, and they were able to acquire Nerlens Noel and Alec Burks. And I really like these pickups for the Detroit Pistons, and I think this offseason has gotten off to a really strong start. And when I look at our roster and I look at the Detroit Pistons, I see a bunch of different players with a bunch of different skills, and then I see some versatile players as well. And when you have this on an NBA roster, that means you can get creative and make a whole lot of different versatile lineups, and that's what we're going to be doing today. And I first want to look at the Detroit Pistons, their potential starting five. Now, when we look at the Pistons, a young team like this with so many young players filled with potential, that means it's going to be competitive and players are going to have to compete for minutes. So when I look at this, the Detroit Pistons, the only two players that I can say are really three players. I say there's three players that are a lock for the starting five, and that's Isaiah Stewart, Saddiq Bey, and Cade Cunningham. And I throw Beef Stew in there because I think he's very underrated, especially on the defensive side of the ball. He's very versatile, and he can do a lot when it comes to guarding the pick and roll. He can switch out onto a smaller player, and then he can also still cover the area and get back to the big. So I think Isaiah Stewart, I think he's very slept on. But when I look at a potential starting five, I think it's going to be Cade Cunningham, Jaden Ivey, Saddiq Bey, Marvin Bagley, and then Isaiah Stewart. I think that's going to be the starting five. Now, there's a lot to love about this lineup, and there's a little bit to hate about it. But what I love about it is on the defensive side of the ball, they're going to have a lot of size. Cade Cunningham being 6'6", Jaden Ivey is 6'4" with a 6'10" wingspan. Saddiq Bey has nice size. Marvin Bagley has nice size. And then Isaiah Stewart, he's great at playing the big spot, even though he is undersized for that position. So I like this lineup defensively. And what I'll be worried about is spacing on the offensive side of the ball. Now, of course, I think this offseason, Marvin Bagley is definitely working on his three-point shot. I think the three-point shooting of him and Isaiah Stewart will be vital for this starting lineup. But when I look at Isaiah Stewart, he has the shooting touch. Down the stretch of last season, he shot over 50% from the three-point line. So that's something to consider. He can, like, if it's something that he can work on, he can become consistent at it and become a threat from downtown. But that's the only thing I would be worried about is the spacing around Cade Cunningham. But other than that, I think it's a pretty solid group. I think they're definitely going to be well off on the defensive side of the ball. But the bright side about it is that the Detroit Pistons have enough players to make changes if something doesn't work out. And they have so many different weapons. And we got to remember that this is a young team, so it's going to take a while to figure out the right combination of the right five players. But that's what I think the starting lineup out the gate is going to be, just to fill things out. And just based off last season, I think that's going to be the starting five for the Pistons. And now we look at this next lineup, and I think the Detroit Pistons are going to have the flexibility to go small, and I think they're going to have two small ball lineups, and this one is going to be. So with this first small ball lineup, we will see Cade Cunningham at the 1, Jaden Ivey at the 2, Alec Burks at the 3, Saddiq Bey at the 4, and then Isaiah Stewart at the 5. Now, in today's modern NBA, as the game becomes more positionless, the Detroit Pistons can afford to put a lineup this small out on the court. You got two shooting guards with Jaden Ivey and Alec Burks. You have a small forward in Saddiq Bey that's moving up to the power forward position. And then we all know Beef Stew is undersized at his position. Now, what I like about this lineup and what I like about the Detroit Pistons actually is that all their guards have some great size to them, from Killian Hayes to Cade Cunningham, Jaden Ivey. They all have great size and they have muscle. Cade is 6'6", 220 pounds. Killian Hayes is about 6'5", 210 pounds. And then Jaden Ivey is 6'4" with that 6'10" wingspan. So even when they are playing small, they're still big at the same time. And I like that about the Detroit Pistons. And with this particular lineup, I would love it offensively. I would love the spacing. We got Cade Cunningham and Jaden Ivey in the backcourt. And then we have Alec Burks and Saddiq Bey shooting the basketball. And Alec Burks, he was a great pickup for the Detroit Pistons. He's going to be a great veteran presence on this team. And then also he can play. Like, he's a good basketball player. He can shoot the lights out. He shot the ball he shot 40% from the three-point line multiple times in his career. And I think he's going to be great in that catch and shoot role for the Detroit Pistons. And we all know Saddiq Bey is a marksman. And then Isaiah Stewart has shown the ability to knock down a wide open three-point shot. So has Jaden Ivey. And then Cade Cunningham can also shoot the three ball. So I think the spacing is definitely going to be there. And then they also can run the simple things when they have a guy like Cade Cunningham who can just read the defense so well, take his time and make the right read. They can always run pick and roll, and they'll always get some great offense out of it because Cade Cunningham is that lethal with the basketball in his hands. And then they can also run some off-ball action because there's so many different shooters on the court. And then you mix that in with Jaden Ivey being a great finisher at the rim, and opens up some room for some back doors and slipping off screens. So with this lineup, I think the Detroit Pistons will be able to do a lot of different things offensively. And then also with on the defensive side of the ball, I think they'll be pretty good. Cade Cunningham is great defensively, on the perimeter, inside the paint, showed the ability to contest and block shots. A lot of people sleep on the defense of Jaden Ivey. If he locks in and he puts his all into it, and Dwayne Casey gets him to buy into playing defense, he can be a lockdown defender in this league. Alec Burks, he's not too bad on the defensive side of the ball. Saddiq Bey, 3-and-D player. And then Beef Stew. I love Beef Stew on the defensive side of the ball. So versatile, being able to guard multiple positions. So I think this lineup will be really great defensively. So this is something to consider from the Detroit Pistons. And I wouldn't mind if they actually use this lineup. And then on the perfect world, this will be the Detroit Pistons' most dangerous lineup, with Cade Cunningham at the 1, Jaden Ivey at the 2, Saddiq Bey at the 3, Isaiah Liverich at the 4, and then Jalen Duren at the 5. Now, when I look at this lineup, I think this could be the Detroit Pistons potentially their best offensive and defensive lineup. It's just a matter of time before the young guys put everything together and they can become consistent NBA players. But we know usually that doesn't happen right out of the gates. But in the future, I would love to see this lineup for the Detroit Pistons. And I want to start with Isaiah Liverich. And I like his size and his shooting ability, and also his ability to guard multiple positions. I think that's going to be very vital for the Detroit Pistons. He's going to be able to stretch the floor on offense. Same thing with Saddiq Bey. He's a great shooter. And then we still have Cade Cunningham and Jaden Ivey in the backcourt. And also, I think those two guys are going to play so well with Jalen Duren when it comes to the two-man game, running the pick and roll. And that's what I like about the Pistons and them drafting Cade Cunningham in 2021. We can run the simple plays and still have a crazy offense. We can run a pick and roll between Cade Cunningham and Jalen Duren. And Cade is going to make so much magic happen, because as dangerous as a scorer he is, he's just as dangerous as a playmaker. And then Jalen Duren, at 18 years of age, 250 pounds, 6'11", all muscle. He is a physical force of nature. He's a monster, super athletic, and he's intense. So he's going to be that perfect lob threat. He's going to finish well around the rim. And then also, he has a soft touch. He can step out and knock down the mid-range shot. He can throw up a little post hook. So he's going to be so well with these guys. And then Jaden Ivey can also run that pick and roll with him. He's a great playmaker, great at scoring the basketball, and he's just going to attract so much attention. So I think this lineup is going to be great offensively, going to be fun to watch them get out into transition, fun to watch them in the half court. And defensively, I'm going to love this lineup as well. Size everywhere. Cade Cunningham at 6'6", Jaden Ivey, once again, 6'4" with the 6'10" wingspan. We got the two wings and Saddiq Bey and Isaiah Liverich that have great size and can guard multiple positions. And then Jalen Duren is also great defensively. He can step out on the perimeter. He can guard both the ball handler and the roller in the pick and roll. He's great at disrupting lobs and bounce passes. He's a really solid defensive big. So I'm looking at this and I'm looking at the Detroit Pistons. I'm like, yeah, we got all these different players, all these different guys with different skills, and they can make so many different lineups. And then I was looking at those at starting lineups, and then imagine what we have off the bench. We have Killian Hayes, Hamidou Diallo, Marvin Bagley, Isaiah Stewart. At all times, the Detroit Pistons are going to have a very solid lineup on the court, and it's going to be so competitive, and I can't wait to watch these guys compete for these minutes. It's definitely going to be fun, and I'm very excited for the next season for the Detroit Pistons. But that's going to be it for this video, man. I just wanted to touch on the Detroit Pistons potential versatility and look at some different starting lineups. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like, comment down below your potential starting five for the Detroit Pistons, and then subscribe for more weekly content. We do this all the time, man. And that's curtains.